Hello, hello. Still getting myself together here, so... Okay. Hi, Fancy. How you doing today? Okay, I've got my tea. Pretty good. Just getting myself settled and together here. This is what I'm looking for. Just getting myself together. Today, I have planned to actually draw and paint a scene. Kind of something that, ever since last week, has actually been kind of floating around in my head, so I wanted to get it down and make sure that it happened. So that is what I will be doing today. Pardon me as I move stuff around. Pencils are here. Erasers, those right there for now. Yeah, I think I've got everything I need. Alright, so just one more thing. Okay, so let's begin. Make sure that you can actually see what I'm doing here. So I have this way of freestyling characters and drawings where I don't really focus so much on the measured structure of a character. And that's kind of what I want to do today. So what I'm going to be doing is probably just a regular scene. So I have my characters that I want to use, and that's what I'll be sticking with. So you'll see them as they kind of take shape here. I usually do... So I have... What size paper am I using right now? I think it's roughly 12 by 18 or something like that. I chop up all my watercolor paper when I get them. So this sheet started out as an 18 by 24, and then I chopped it in half. So roughly a 12 by 18. Roughly, I say, because I also had to trim some extra off, I think, from out of this, just because it was a spiral spiral watercolor pad that I use this for. Normally, I'll get the glued pads, but because I ordered it online, I don't think I was really paying attention to what I had ordered, so I had to trim off the edge with the spiral pieces off of it. So, let me see, my measurements, it's 12... Yeah, this is roughly 12 by 18, almost exactly. Almost exactly. Just off by just a little bit. So normally when I do a scene, especially in this type of orientation of a landscape, I tend to look at the image as I kind of visually cut it in half, so I have two different action points within the scene. And then something in the middle, something low in the middle that kind of bridges them. So maybe it'll be something right here, and then something right here, and then something that ties the two together. I don't know where I started doing that. It just kind of came to me and has just been working. So that's what we're going to stick with. So here is roughly my ground. I was thinking that... I kind of want a table here. I think I was thinking of doing a scene of these characters in a garden. So, we'll draw and just kind of sketch in some foliage back here. something like that. That'll help to visually tie the scene together, I think. And then I know I want a chair here, and then another chair there. I really don't even know the angle I'm going to get to it. Oh yes, the most detailed of trees. Just kind of throwing some stuff in. Actually, I think... You know what? This is fine. This will work. Some arms on these chairs here. And this table. Maybe I'll do it that way instead. Of course, this is why we have the ruler, but obviously the most important thing is to just kind of get the basic shapes and gestures down, so that we can start really staging where the characters are supposed to be in relation to everything else. So I want a little thing right here. Maybe a little guy right here. And then over here, we'll probably maybe cut this down a little bit so we can fit this other potted plant right in over here. I have no idea how well this is going to turn out, so we are going to play around with as much of the detailing as possible, and then we'll see what ends up happening. So when I'm usually sitting down to draw something, I do often have a vision in mind of what it is I actually want to put down on the paper. So I just kind of go with that. I kind of stick with whatever's in my head and just say, well, let's put this over here, so that's what we got this plant over here. And that's why we're doing a garden scene. Oh, really? Why so? Why is this sketch phase your biggest issue? Roughly the same height. Oh, you know what? I think I know that feeling. I've had to spend a lot of time kind of freeing myself from that same expectation that what I put down on the paper has to be perfect initially. And it really just comes down to how fast, how much time do I actually want to spend on this piece. And it's also come from spending so much time erasing lines, and those erasings tend to be digging into the paper. So the lines themselves are so deep and so engraved into the paper that when I want to erase something, it's always a problem because it's never clean. And then, I'll have turned it into a really great scene, but it's always marred by these weird lines and marks in weird places. So I say, and this is one of the reasons why I draw with a very hard lead pencil so that I can just do what I need to do as light as possible. It also helps to erase a little cleaner. So I don't know if these lines I'm drawing down here are going to stay, but I know I kind of want them there right now. And actually what I need to do is put that ground line even further back. And obviously I just draw right through everything, so I'm going to get my stage together first. So it looks like that ground line goes right up to the seat of my chairs. That's cool. Okay. So I always draw my lines really, really light just so I could place everything. And then, as I've said, you know, I will go over everything with a heavier pencil lines just so that I know where all the detail is and I know where my characters will actually be sitting. Or, well, they'll be staged. So, speaking of characters, now we've gotten most of this going. And this is also a really good opportunity because it allows me to consider what I'm actually doing with the background. You know, I've put in my shapes to just kind of help me get an idea of what's going on back there. So now it's all a matter of, you know, saying, as I'm developing this, like, what kind of plant will this guy be, or that one, or then what's going to be happening back here with these bushes. So that's always fun. But I try to take my time going through it now, only because I realize, you know, I've got enough time to actually do it, so I don't have to get everything perfect before I start, because I'm going to be erasing a lot. And sometimes a pose that I'll have put down will have to change, or sometimes some element that I may have put in will have to turn into a different element, and I won't have given myself the opportunity or the space to clearly place that new item with whatever it needs to be. Sometimes the scene just has to be changed. So next, I think that I want that right there. I'm drawing a little baby right here. Whatever my sketch lines need to look like. Now normally I'll put my primary figures on this side right here, but there's more that's going to be taken up in this scene. I think I want to put in at least one more character in this scene, if not a couple more. So we'll start there. I think I do want another character here. So we'll draw that face in. Put in the leg right there. Oops. course, I end up digging into the paper. Oh, that's perfect. Since it's so funny because since I draw so many lines, what ends up happening is sometimes the convergence of all those lines creates really fun shapes that I can turn into its own element or the additional element towards another figure here in the piece. And that's just from, you know, kind of keeping my eyes open for that sort of thing as it develops. You know what? Disappear away. Do what you gotta do. I'm here having fun, so you come in and you can sit and watch the whole thing if you want to. And just remember, I do post these videos, the whole archive. It's on my YouTube page, so you can definitely check it out if you end up having to step away and come back and you've missed so much and see where I've gotten. So that's always available. So there you go. Like I said, in case you end up having to step away and can't watch the whole thing, by all means, it'll be right there. Maybe not in the same day, because sometimes it takes me a little while, but I try to get these up as soon as possible. So I think I do want... So I was thinking just now of putting a character standing here, but I feel that that would just kind of visually just cut the thing in half, and I don't want to do that. I want it to flow as one continuous scene without that visible stop. So I'll just put that person sitting. Now, I could also put a person standing just right here. Instead of this plant here, I could actually have a person right here. So, I'm going to think about that one. Because already with just the addition of 1, 2, 3 characters here and a potential 4th and 5th, the scene is already very full. Yep. So far we have now 5 people in the scene, and the tables just kind of disappear, but that's okay. I know where it was. You know what? You're absolutely right. You'll always have that too. I really think I want that extra character in here, but maybe I don't want to put them there. I think I want to put them here. So this is another reason, this is exactly what I was talking about, why I always draw in light pencil. Only because with everything changing in the scene, it's going to be very, very important to just be able to do this on the fly and change things as needed without having already committed to a figure and their placement and their pose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my little pom-pom tree and put that over here instead of over there. And maybe that figure can either be like this right here, so I have someone just kind of hanging out on the arm of this chair. You know, I kind of like that. That still brings everybody together. So we're, our attention visually is being drawn to our little baby right here. So I think that's going to work. So I can probably actually do something like that and bring that plant back instead of having someone standing here. So that draws everyone back together. Okay. So next, we can actually get some hard line measurements going of where everything is and just kind of figure out that placement. So what I want to start with is actually going to be this table that's in the middle of the room. So I'm going to use my mechanical pencil here. I'm going to bring that surface down a little bit. We're going to do that. Placement. I am a visual measurer, so once was a time when I used to, I'd whip out the protractors and the compass so I can get all my angles right, and it turned into that's a whole lot more than needs to be done right there. So there's my table. So that gives me at least that spot in the foreground. The next, I want to move these erasers out of the way. Next, let's get this chair back here. Yep, I like that. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do... Oops. That. this out. Okay, so you know what? Let's go with this. A little H pencil here, just so we can get the shapes in. And you know what's so funny? It's only as I'm actually working all my pieces, obviously. And for most people, I think their pieces start off, with no title. But as I kind of develop the piece, it just kind of, it comes to me. Remember, we don't want to get too overly committed to anything. But we do want to place things right. Oh, we got a shoulder blade going on there. Awesome. So the inspiration for this scene comes from something I'm doing for my comic. And so that's what I was touched by with this one. Do I name all of my artwork? I try to. I absolutely do try to. If only for my own sake. And especially if I'm really, really enjoying what's being presented there. So there are actually two scenes that I've shared, two pages, one page that I've shared and one page I'm currently working on from my comic that are really inspiring me right now. So the first one is this one, which is a scene. It's a 2-page spread from the book, and we have all eight of my primary characters there. And of course, our little baby. She's right there. So there's that. And then there is this scene, which is what I'm opening the book with. So this will be page 1 of the book. And I'm really excited with that. I started working on this one because I needed to redo these pages in particular. So that's why I'm showing them in. That's why I was feeling something about this. So I really liked where this one was going, and I said, I kind of want to do something that's still in the vein of this here. So that's what this is, and that's why we're doing this. And sometimes the names of my pieces will be kind of corny, or sometimes they'll just be very, very plain. Like, I think for this one, I'm probably just going to end up calling this Family Time, and that's pretty plain, but I feel that that's the most telling of what's going on here. And that's what I tend to stick with. Yeah, it's a really good scene. It's a really good scene. I wanted to get more of the actual table in that first page, but I think it just ended up working out so much better to be like that. And there was a piece that was done by Norman Rockwell. I forget the name of it, but you're probably familiar with it. I think it's, of a meal being served. It was, a long table, and we had the two central characters up at the top. The one character was off to the right serving, and everybody else was arrayed around him. That's where a lot of the inspiration for that scene came from. Well, thank you. I really oftentimes just kind of throw myself into the scene, and as I envision it, I just kind of throw everything I've got at it. And, these particular scenes, I really want my viewer, my audience, to really feel as though they are a part of what's happening, instead of just, watching something. I love that idea of really feeling as though you're in and a part of the action. So, especially for a scene like that. We're going to have to bring the bottom of this table up a little bit, I think. You know what I realized? This table itself is in such a weird perspective. And I forgot to draw this side of it. So let's go ahead and put that in now. Which obviously would push everyone else back, but this is why we draw lightly. I know who these characters are here. His arm in here. I think in my original vision this was just a scene with 3 characters, 1, 2, and 3. But now it's a full-on actual family, almost a family portrait. So I want to move things around just a bit. I was gonna have this foot aimed upwards, but I think it just makes more sense to be aimed down. That's better. Ooh, that foot is really gone places. And what's happening right now is that the furniture is kind of small, and these characters have gotten kind of big, so we need to fix this. Is just a little too big for what's going on there. Shrink him down. This going on there. Yeah, power pose indeed. Sometimes it takes a little extra finessing, but once you get it. Okay. I think I've got it. Let's bring that chairs back further this way. And the thing about, any of my scenes, I don't want to forget the real, fantasy element of it. And not just, about a full family scene, but, I want to put some, little touches in it. Just elements that'll help really drive the fact that this is a fantasy world where this is happening, so... Maybe we're thinking about some type of weird plants that they've surrounded themselves with. Or maybe it could be the clothing that they're wearing. In my original storytelling, that I've often done is that a lot of the real fun of a story is the fact that the characters aren't, just your general run-of-the-mill superheroes. They're common people with lives and identities and livelihoods and families and jobs that they have to attend to. And so I've always felt that that was something really, really important that often got lost in a lot of fantasy stories. And obviously not all fantasy stories are about telling the story of the common man or anything like that, but I always thought there was something really special and really important about remembering that even our superheroes came from somewhere. Okay, so now that we've gotten a lot of this in here, now need to consider who's who. Yes, they do. We need to consider who's who in this scene. I mean, we already know where the baby is here, but there are other people who are important to this child's development and upbringing, and they're all here in the scene, but where are they in this scene? So what I was thinking was the person who is the closest to her by proximity would be her own father, who I think I will put right here. That's going to be this guy, Europa. So let's go ahead and put him in here. Trying to figure out how his hair is going to be. Ah, there we go. Make sure I get my tube legs right. Originally was going to have his arm kind of bent in there, but I feel it'll look a whole lot better if he was actually had his hand on her back there. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so now he's in. And I have no problem drawing my characters as, you know, kind of gesturing in their clothing as I go. Super fine by me. Baby, she's reaching onto the table. So let's redraw her in here. So there is that. Here we have Uncle. always knew who this was going to be sitting right here, so let's go ahead and put him in there. Yeah. Are you talking about the, you much like the, is it the angle that's doing it for you? If I had to change quite a bit in here to get what I needed. You know, we need to put that gut back there. Bring up the knee a little more. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, no, these two right here, they are definitely in front of the table. I just wanted to get the table placed so I knew exactly what they were sitting at. I've kind of learned to, whenever I'm doing an actual scene, start from the background and just bring everything up. So I always get the background in first as lightly as I can, and then I start placing things on top of that in layers. So we have these two, then the table, then these two right here. And we have other uncle. I'm just going to draw on the gestures of these fingers. There we go. Now I got them. Thanks, Fancy. You enjoy your day. If we don't come back, you know where to look for the rest of the video. We're gonna keep it moving here. Figure out what they're going to wear a little later. And right over here, we have Dad's boyfriend. Just as close to baby. over here on TV. Whew. Taking a quick stretch here. Okay. All right, so the story of these characters is as much driven by dad and boyfriend, or really boyfriend just alone, but this is all one family here. In this scene, let's do that. Excuse me. Band-aid going on right there, so we'll do that. Put that back there. Okay. I'm gonna take a moment to really stretch here. Ooh. So the scene is really coming together nicely. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back to it. We're going to start looking at what all of these characters are wearing, and then we'll really dig into some detail based on the clothing, because I need their clothing to really place the detail for my deeper pencil line. So we're going to take a break. I'm going to stretch. We're going to come back and jump back into it. Okay, back. Let's do the things. So, I take this as a summer scene, so we're gonna put everybody in some summertime clothing. So, Daddy down here is gonna be wearing a tank top and some shorts. No shoes because he's home. He doesn't need to do all that. So I was probably already sketching in a lot of that anyway, so... What should Dad's boyfriend be wearing? It's so funny that I call them, I say that, you know, they're a couple, boyfriends, but in reality, you know, they are each other's family, each other's lifeline, and I think, you know, when it comes to relationships, you know, we all find the people that we resonate with most intently, and so, you know, the term boyfriend or girlfriend just kind of gets to be used as a, well, you know, this type of relationship, when in reality they're partners. So they are each other's true partner, and so I feel like it's important that that also be reflected in the relationship, that, you know, because boyfriend sounds a lot more transitory, not committed fully. It's just kind of the connotation that that tends to take on in some relationships, or in some indications of a relationship. So do I want him wearing shorts too? Honestly. You know what? Think that... yeah. Put him in a short sleeve shirt. Shirt's gonna look kind of young, but we'll do that. A deep V neckline. Got our moon charm right there. That. auntie over here. She's going to wear whatever the hell she wants. She will be right here. And cutoffs. Let's just say no one in this scene is wearing shoes. Because everybody's at home. Toes folded under just like that. I don't know about her hair. We're going to come back to her. Uncle over here, this uncle. Shirt. Ah. Be careful about how much I dig into this paper here. We are getting to that point where I'll be able to start inking pretty soon. So once I have in all of their clothing and I know what everybody's wearing, then that'll likely be the next step. Aside from, trying to figure out the placement of the furniture and its look. Uncle here. His hair is locks. He'll also be in a tank top. Foot in there. Uncle's hair here is much more tamed, coiffed, than everybody else is in this scene, actually. He keeps his hair short. Straw pillow in here. draw another one over there. And let's draw the arm of this chair right there. Just holding on to a pillow there. Like a wicker texture going on with these chairs. Oh yeah, I definitely want cushion there. Alright, back to Auntie. She's the only one who doesn't seem to have decent outfit going on. She's also a lot more curvy than all of what I've actually put in here. So let's get that going too. Okay, so I dig it. I was gonna have her hair down. I think I want it up. So I went through all this trouble of putting these lines here on the floor. I kind of do want them there, some kind of visual something for the floor. But we got to get them in right. So a wicker look on a chair is, I feel, best just kind of displayed by some really light, targeted, deliberate cross-hatching. So we want to make our frame of where it's going to sit, and then we can just go in . do that. Just like that. Wow. Man, this scene is really coming together. Okay, so... I don't like her hair up. I don't. You know, we're just gonna put it down. Okay, so that's that. Next. That in a little smaller. So, guy back there. It's there really to help frame everything going on here. Welcome, new visitors. If you're coming by to check out the stream, please enjoy it. I'm drawing a full scene here. I don't think I've done that on the stream before. Get like a full scene going. I think I've come close a couple of times, but I'm not sure if I've actually done a full thing. I'll have to look back and see that. Maybe I have. If not, like a scene like this, maybe just something for the comic. Speaking of which, that's actually going by really, really well. I've gotten most of the pages. Their first pass of pencils is all perfect and done. And, ooh, I'm missing something here. What do I want going on here? There we go. Okay. So that's all that going on here. We have his foot. His arm is right here. What am I missing? What is missing from this scene? I don't know. I can't think of it. So, what we need to do now is get ready to start inking. I feel really good about where everybody's laid out and how that looks. So, let me get my water and my brushes. So just like last week, we're going to start with some very thin line work. Got my two brushes that I do a lot of my line work with right here. A lot of. Practically all of it. I don't really need that. I don't know really what's going to come of those lines on the floor there, so we're going to leave them in as pencils for now. Maybe even after I've done a lot of my foreground inking here, I'll be able to really visualize what's supposed to be happening on the floor a little better. I think my intention was to do some type of tiled something or other. I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. That's right, I'm meant to do this. Get all that up in there. Okay. Earlier today, I dropped my bottle of blue watercolor paint. And so that was a nice blue splatter all over the floor. It's all cleaned up now, but I was really, really upset because I just put it down and then it just fell. So, being extra careful with my paints and things. I do not want a repeat of that. Alright, so we're going to start with this little guy all the way over here. And let's go ahead and put the fronds in. Tall grass. Hope everyone is doing wonderful today. Everybody's feeling well. Trying not to move too fast while I get these inks in here, because that is... Nothing will kill the look of your inks more than moving too fast. Trying to just get them in there. No. You want to be very careful, because obviously the inking phase is, hey, everything is perfect here, so let's make this permanently perfect. And so it's a little bit of tracing mixed in with some, you know how to draw better than this. So that's why I go with my thin brush. Okay. I was really worried what I was smearing. Okay, so I'm not, so we're good. Now begins the constant trouble I have with steadying my hand. I'm going to do that detail just so. Just want to get in here to put the other foot of this chair in. There we go. Other leg. Whew. Well, it is what it is now. It's there. I'm not so much worried about their hair because of what I'm going to do with their hair in a minute. Since most of their hair will be black with some highlights. I need to steady my hand on something, so... Draw in the rough shape of it. Sorry I'm so quiet, y'all. I'm trying to concentrate on making sure that I don't do the wrong line. And it's easy to get lost in this whole process of inking, so I'm quiet. That's really all that's happening right now, is I'm just so focused. So I'm curious, if you're hanging out in the chat right now, how does this piece look to you from your angle? Because I can tell you what I'm seeing here, and I'm digging it. There's a lot going on, but I really like where it is right now. But I would love to know what you think and to hear what you're seeing. Maybe you're seeing I don't know, potential problem area that I'm just not, or maybe you're just kind of here and enjoying what's happening on the screen, in which case, by all means, continue to do so. Don't want to spoil your reverie, but My little baby's got her legs in there now. Awesome. Oop. This leg is going off in places here, so we'll just... we'll have to fix that some other way. Just saw a problem that I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix with more ink, so we'll see. Yeah, I just ended up putting the leg in the wrong place. I don't know how I can fix that. Do. Got this shirt going on under here. Just gotta remember where everything is. And by that I mean, you know, before I get to painting it. Uncle over here is also wearing shorts. Okay, got some ink on this brush now. And this uncle's arm is right there. And Dad's arm is right there. That's fantastic. Suddenly, Uncle's wearing socks. Try to keep my lines as clean as possible so that we don't have like this right here where the paint just kind of dries as it goes on, which is basically a skid mark. Whew. Whew. What could be contributing to my shaky hand right here is also the weird angle that I'm drawing at. Like the height of the paper, the angle of everything. So it could be a number of factors. So I'm going to adjust a few things here so I can really get into this thing. It's a little better. Okay. Shout out to the ink all over my fingers right now. So I'm gonna throw that out there. one challenge that that I really want to be careful of when I tell the story of this family is, of course, we have baby here and daddy. Where is mom? I don't want to give anything at all away right here during this painting session. That's definitely something that I want to leave for the actual comic to tell that story. Some of that reasoning is because, well, I want to make sure that it's the actual true story. And yes, I am the storyteller, the writer, and all that, but, you know, I can tell you right now, as a creative, I have retold the same character stories in so many different times and in so many different ways, trying to make a determination of, you know, what actually fits properly and appropriately for these characters. And so I don't want to just throw something together. I want to make sure that it's, you know, that it feels like an honest, genuine telling of a story of this family. And isn't just, you know, some, I don't know, that it just doesn't seem so made up or overly contrived or insulting in any way. Because, you know, I have met plenty of gay men with children of their own, and the mother is not in the picture at all for whatever reason. And, you know, that's not just a story that's just about the father and the daughter. That's literally everyone's story. That's something that, you know, it involves more people than just the ones we know about and people we're seeing. And I feel like anything like that could just be such a throwaway and just so indelicately done, and I do not want to do that. Because the three sons here, dad, uncle, they were also raised by a single father. And that's as much, I feel like that's as much of a story about their family history as it is about their culture. And it's super important to get all of that story correct. And I just don't have it yet, so I'll just say that just like that. There's so much of this family that just hasn't been revealed even to me. And, you know, I going back to how I feel about storytelling, I don't look at anyone's story as, okay, this is a story that I made up, so I can tell it any way I want to. I don't do that with my storytelling. It has to make sense, and I look at my storytelling as me kind of channeling an idea, channeling the story, or creating these characters is more like, okay, I have these people here. What is their story? Where do they come from? What has been happening in their lives? Like, how did we get here? How did we get to this part in their lives where we meet them? Were they the best people that they could be, or did they have their own problems and their own issues that they had to solve before they became who they are, before we started to really get to know them and get to see them as they are right now? And so that's really how I feel about this group right here. Like, I know of their childhood. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know his. And he's the main character of the story. So, I feel it's important to just kind of go back and to really look at what's happening with these characters and get a better sense of who they are. And then all of a sudden, now we've got this kid thrown in here, like, oh man, where does she come from? How does she fit into this whole tale? So yeah, there's a lot that's going on with that. It is now time to, I think, get the rest of these trees back here. And honestly, like, kind of what I did with this, and I'm gonna do something extra with that. Let's just do this, get some texture in here. But I mean, I want to, these are characters that I've created that I feel very strongly about and that I think are very, very important overall. In many different ways, and I think that their backgrounds are something that even I'm still exploring as a storyteller. I don't want to just make stuff up just because, like, oh, well, we want this super empowering story about this family this non-traditional family who, is just a single father and his male partner, raising a young girl, and then, they all live in this big house with the 2 uncles, and the one uncle is still trying to deal with his life and his mother who abandoned him, and hey, where's his father, and all of this. So, there's a lot. There's just a lot. And I think my whole goal with this story was, to make it as honest and as realistic as possible, because, when you're talking to people, you never really know what their story is. You don't know what got them to where they are, their upbringing or anything like that. And then when you do, you're like, wow, that's something. It's, not just triumph over adversity kind of thing. It's, there's a lot that was going on in your life that, kind of you just had to deal with as a child. And, here you are. And I don't think that people really... I think it's one of those things that gets paid attention to for its own, as like a human interest story. And I love those types of things, but, there's heroism in that. There's heroism in the idea of a single father raising his daughter by himself with just, his brothers and sister-in-law and his partner. And, you know, everyone has a life on top of that. Do something like that. And I think that right there is story enough. And then, you know, we attach that to this kind of, at least with this comic series, you know, attaching that to a kind of almost superhero, we're saving the world type of thing. Like, literally. We're all superpowered people, and this is what we do. We're chosen by, you know, our ancestors to go out and do these things for the rest of our people, and that's the story that I'm telling here. You know what? I think this is where I'm going to call it for today. There's a lot that's really great going on here, and I want to come back to this next week and finish up with where we are. I think, you know, the inks look as good as they're going to look right now. I've got a couple of random mistakes in here. There's some more details that I want to put in here, but I think this is a really great place to stop. And it's obviously given me also some food for thought. So, for the book, and I really can't wait to start showing that off, honestly. I think today I also mentioned that I'm going to be really seriously putting some work into the pages of this story. So check out the I'll post updates of that regularly on Facebook. I do have a Tumblr as well, so you can see little scenes and things on my Tumblr page, illustratorfantasies.tumblr.com, naturally, and on my Instagram. So I think that's Celestian Bright on Instagram, so you can find me there, and I always post little, you know, snippets of things that I've done there. Obviously on Twitter, a lot of that goes to Twitter too. So you'll really be able to see where I am with a lot of my work on social media. So there is that. And then I want to, at least in one video, in another video rather, because I think I've done this a couple of weeks ago, I want to show you guys the pages as they are and where I'm going with them, so you can really see that as well. I'm probably going to come up with a different angle for my camera so that I can actually get in and do the inking the way I want to do, as opposed to stressing out my arm the way I have been. That's a work in progress. But for now, like I said, I will call it for the day, so I will see you all next week, hopefully. If my schedule changes, I mentioned this last week, my schedule is likely to change. I will go into much more detail on that once I actually know what that schedule is going to be. So for now, we will just prepare as though we're going to do every Saturday at 1 p.m. continuously Eastern time. So you'll definitely be able to see that there, unless I post some kind of update. And I will, like I said, I will let you know. and then we'll see where we are. For now, I want to thank you all for stopping by and for hanging out. I will see you next Saturday at 1 p.m. Take care.